Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be talking about the Scrappy Survivors deck. So this is one of the new Fallout decks that is going to be coming out very soon, focused around equipment and auras and getting them back from your graveyard and, you know, overall just spreading the love of equipment and auras out. So this is, as I said, like a completely new deck focused around Dogmeat as the commander. So Dogmeat makes it so that when he enters the battlefield, you're going to mill 5 cards, then return an aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. And then whenever a creature you control that's enchanted or equipped attacks, you get to create a junk token, which is essentially a new type of token that lets you impulse draw. So take when you sacrifice it, you exile the top card of your library, and then you can play that card this turn. So a new kind of type of, essentially a new type of drawing kind of thing, a new token that's able to go into, like, you know, any other commander token deck that wants to make use of it. So we've got a lot of really nice cards in here for new cards. So we've got like Kate, Cage Brawler. So Kate has indestructible, and whenever attacks, you and the defending player each draw a card, and then you discard a card. You get to put 2 +1/+1s onto Kate if you discard the card with the highest mana value among those cards, or tied. Gunner Conscript, it gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it. When Gunner Conscript dies, you get to create a junk token if it's enchanted, or a junk token if it's equipped. So you get to create 2 junk tokens essentially if it's equipped and enchanted. In the Reckless, if he's modified, when you attack with him, you may have it deal damage equal to its power to you and any target, which is interesting. So you're taking damage yourself, but you get to deal damage to a target depending on if he's modified. Mr. Gutsy here, whenever you cast an aura or an equipment spell, put a +1/+1 counter onto Mr. Gutsy, and then when he dies, create X junk tokens, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on him. So Pure Steel Paladin is a reprint. We've got Armory Paladin, which is whenever you cast an aura or equipment, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until the end of your next turn. You've got Brotherhood Outcast here. Return a target aura or equipment with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield, or put a shield counter on a target creature when it enters the battlefield. Codsworth is tap for 2 white that you can spend on auras or equipments, or tap and target aura or equipment you control, to attach aura or equipment you control to a target creature you control. Also gives all your commanders Ward 2, which is a really nice card. We've got Crimson Caravaneer. Whenever whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a junk token, but it's got double strike and trample as well. Moira Brown, Guide Author, whenever it enters the battlefield, create a colorless equipment artifact token named Wasteland Survival Guide, with equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each quest counter among permanents you control. So there's like a very interesting mechanic that's like throughout. Basically, I think it's at least the 2 kind of ones that we've seen so far, the quest counters, where it's like you get the quest counters from doing various stuff, and then there's certain cards that you're able to spend to be able to do stuff. So this one here is it gets +1/+1 for each quest counter among all your permanents, and then whenever you attack, put a quest counter on target non-land permanent you control. 3 Dog, whenever you attack, you can pay 2, sacrifice an aura attached to 3 Dog, and it's going to create a token for that aura for each other attacking creature you control. You've got Veronica, Dissident Scry. Whenever it attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Whenever you discard 1 or more non-land cards for the first time each turn, create a junk token. So you've got kind of like this discard card, kind of a little bit in a few of the cards in here as well. We've got Cass, Hand of Vengeance. Whenever you attack, whenever Cass or another creature you control dies, if it's enchanted or equipped, return any number of aura cards that were attached to it from your graveyard to the battlefield and attach to target creature. Then attach any number of equipments that were attached to that creature. So you get to be able to kind of like, if your stuff that's got enchantments or auras or equipment dies, then you get to kind of rearrange it, which is nice, because that's one of the kind of downsides of auras, is once the thing that was had the auras on them dies, they're kind of gone. So with this, you're going to be able to do that, like be able to rearrange them. We've got Commander Sophia. When it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target legendary permanent, and then that permanent's controller creates a junk token. Duchess Wayward Tavern Keep. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on it, and then you get to pay 1, remove a quest counter from a permanent you control to create a junk token. Bighorn Rancher, Vigilance, and then tap to add an amount of green equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, or you can sacrifice it to gain life equal to the greatest toughness against creatures you control. Preston Garvey, who's probably the enchanter that I would probably run in this deck. At the beginning of combat, you get to create a green aura enchantment token named Settlement attached to up to 1 target creature you control. It has enchant land, and enchanted land has tap to add 1 mana of any color. And then finally, Super Mutant Scavenger has trample, and then whenever it enters the battlefield or dies, return up to 1 target aura equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. So you can see there's a lot of ways to be able to get auras and equipment into your graveyard from various things, or prevent them going into your graveyard as well. And then you've got ways to be able to return them too, which is really nice. In regards to the spells in here, so these are like the instants or sorceries. Oh no, these are all, yeah, instants or sorceries. So we've got Path to Exile coming back. Heroic Intervention comes back with a new art as well. So that's 2 reprints. We've got Inventory Management, makes it so you can rearrange. So for each aura or equipment you control, you may attach it to a creature you control. So you can move your aura and equipment onto a certain creature if you want to. We've got Valorous Stance, which is a reprint, and we've got Breakdown, which is a new card to destroy a target artifact or equipment and then create a junk token. Chaos Warp reprint, Single Combat reprint. Megaton's Fate makes it so you get to choose if you want to destroy an artifact and create 4 treasures, or deal 8 damage to each creature, and then each player gets 4 rad counters. So that's like a mini board wipe, which is interesting. We've got Blasphemous Act as a reprint too. A lot of the artifacts here are reprints, so Basilisk Collar's reprint, Bloodforge reprint, Explorer's Scope reprint, Masterwork of Ingenuity reprint, Pip-Boy's new, which is a card that we could definitely see kind of going into almost nearly any deck. It makes it so that it's an equipment, and whenever equipped creature attacks, you get to either discard a card and then, draw a card and then discard a card, put a +1/+1 on it, or untap 2 lands. There's a lot of uses that this Pip-Boy could find in here as well. Obviously, Sol Ring, Arcane Signet are reprints. Junk Jet makes it so that you can pay 3, sacrifice another artifact to double a equipped creature's power until end of turn. I definitely want to put this into my my Lesbian Detectives deck, the Madame Vastra deck, because it's going to be insane with her. We've got Silver Shroud Costume. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you can attach it to a target creature you control, and it gains Shroud until end of turn, and that means that and also equipped creature can't be blocked. So that's very cool. So and it's got flash as well, so you can, you know, flash it in and it automatically attach to something, and then it's going to be able to make it so it can't be blocked. Swift Foot Boots reprint. We've got Agility Bobblehead, which makes it so that it basically gives haste to creatures based on however many bobbleheads you have. We've got Behemoth Sledge, which is a reprint. Champion's Helm reprint. Fire Shrieker reprint. Perception Bobblehead is the other one in here to look at the top X cards, where X is the number of bobbleheads you control, and then you can cast a spell from them that's 3 mana or less without paying its mana cost. Pre-war Formal Gear. When it enters battlefield, you get to return something with mana value 3 or less to the battlefield and attach that to it, and it gets +2/+2 and has Vigilance. This is definitely going to go into my Amalia deck. And Brass Knuckles is a reprint too. And then enchantments, you know, we've got a lot of enchantments in here, but most of them reprints. Abundant Growth reprint. Rancor is a reprint too. Sticky Fingers reprint. Wild Growth reprint. All the Glitters reprint. Animal Friend is new, and it makes it so that whenever it's an aura, and then whenever the attached creature attacks, create a 1/1 green squirrel, and then put a +1/+1 counter on that token for each aura and attachment attached to the creature other than Animal Friend. So you get to basically, you know, create a green squirrel and then, you know, ramp up whatever it's attached to. We've got Fertile Ground. Idolize is new. That gives +X/+X whenever a creature attacks alone. So like similar to like Exalted kind of thing. Vault 21 House Gambit, discard a card, then draw a card, discard a card, then draw a card, and then reveal up to 5 non-land cards from your hand. For each of those that shares a mana value, you get to create a treasure token. We've got Well Rested. Whenever this creature becomes untapped, put 2+1/+1s on it. They gain 2 life and draw a card. We've got Acquired Mutation, which is also new. Enchanted creatures gets +2/+2 and is goaded. And then whenever enchanted creature attacks, defending player gets 2 rad counters. So it's a way to give rad counters to all your friends. We've got Squirrel Nest reprint. Strongback is new. Makes it so equipped abilities cost 3 less, auras cost 3 less as well, and then +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Birthday Party, create some soldiers, and then put a aura or equipment from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Grim Reaper's Sprint is also new. It costs 3 less if a creature died, and then whenever it enters the battlefield, whenever it enters the battlefield, you get to untap each creature you control and then have an additional combat phase if it's the main phase. And then the equipped creature also has +2/+2 and haste. And then Mantle of Ancients is a reprint, and Almost Perfect is new. Gives the enchanted creature sets the enchanted creature's base toughness and power to 9/10 and has indestructible. And then all the lands are reprints as well. So there is a lot of, you know, really, really nice cards in here. Having a look at it in regards to like reprints and stuff in here, we've got like Heroic Interventions, a reprint that's really nice. We've got Pure Steel Paladin, which is like, you know, $2 or something like that. Blasphemous Act is a nice reprint as well. Basilisk Collar. What next? Swiftfoot Boots isn't too bad. We've got Champion's Helm in here too. And then, I don't know, the last one's probably like Mantle of the Ancients as well isn't too bad. So, you know, there's like 7-ish reprints that are like over $2. Nothing kind of like as big, in my opinion, as like the Doctor Who sets. I think that they were better in regards to reprints. As for the lands, there's not all that much in regards to lands that are kind of really great reprints. You got like Rootbound Crag, which isn't too bad, and Clifftop Retreat as well. So, you know, 2 of the check lands, but like the land base in here is nowhere near as good as like the Doctor Who ones, for example. The Doctor Who ones had land bases that were insanely great. Like, you know, like the lands that, like, you know, do colorless and then deal 1 to you and then to get like the colored mana and stuff like that. Untapped lands and stuff like that. Like, they're just so much better. Like in here, we've got like some cycle lands, which are nice and stuff. And yeah, as I said, the check lands and stuff along those lines. But then they've also got like the temples in here, which is not great. Temple of the False God 2, not great. Like, I think that the land base is going to be begging for kind of like an upgrade here. You also don't really have any super cheap things. Like 2's the cheapest like creature you've got in here. You're basically going to be like likely playing an artifact turn 1 potentially, or like even your enchantments. You've got like the enchantments in here that you can enchant your lands with, which isn't too bad, and like some ramp stuff. But even then, you don't have like the ramp spells or anything along those lines to be able to get stuff out. So you're kind of relying on like enchanting your lands or using Preston to kind of like mana fix yourself essentially. And even then, as I said, like the land base isn't all that kind of great to kind of, it's like nothing to write home about. You got a lot of card draw in regards to the junk tokens, which is nice, and plenty of ways to be able to like protect your commanders and your creatures. There's also only 18 creatures, which is interesting. You've got like, it's a very kind of like, you know, go tall with your creatures rather than, you know, wide, which is very different to what I'm used to, especially in like Naya. Naya is usually, you know, a lot more like go wide, like a lot of big kind of creatures going wide, rather than, you know, taking a small amount of creatures and then just building them up into these big creatures. Having both like Mantle of the Ancients, All That Glitters, and which was the other one? Strongback. All three of them like getting different stuff based, like, you know, a +1/+1, +2/+2, +1/+1 based on the auras and equipment attached to things is really interesting. So you're likely going to do some kind of big stuff, like take some of these creatures and then make them big. But they even then, like, as for like the big creatures, there's not even that many like big like creatures that you want to be going that big. Like there's nothing that's kind of like gain mana based on how much damage you dealt or something like that. Like the closest there is who was it? Like the Caravaner, like dealing combat damage and create junk tokens. That's probably the closest there really is. So it's very interesting. I think I would probably chuck in some addition, like once you fix the mana base and you can like cut a land or something like that, you can potentially add in another creature. Personally, Karlach is looking really good in here, but I'm kind of like a little bit biased towards Karlach. Overall, I'd love to see like what people end up doing with this. I do think there's kind of like a couple different themes in here kind of going on, and I think that they kind of clash with each other a little bit, but like the bobbleheads will be the first thing that I cut. I think they're not great mana rocks unless you've got like, you know, 4 bobbleheads out at once, and if you've got 4 bobbleheads out at once, then they're going to be a lot better. But overall, they're not all that great, so they're definitely things that I'm going to cut. And yeah, I think more creatures. Like, I think if I cut bobbleheads, add creatures, I think that would be a lot better. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I hope you guys had a great day, and goodbye.